And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside FD off. Bring in FD off. It's orange! 145!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane would be igniting the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another NASA Spaceflight live stream. You are looking at an Atlas 551 sitting proudly atop Slick 41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. We are ready this morning, hopefully, to launch the NROL-107 mission, SILENTBARKER. And I see 5x5s in chat, so I know we are coming through loud and clear. Thank you, everybody, for that. I'm Jack Beyer, your host for this lovely mission, and if you have any questions, don't forget to type at NASASpaceflight in chat and ask away, and we will be able to see your questions pop up in some nifty software that we have. Joining me this morning is the ever ebullient EJ. EJ, how are you doing?
What was that word that you used? All right. Hey, how you doing? I'm good.
Yeah, don't worry about the vocabulary, but let's just roll with it. It's cheerful. It's like cheerful, you know, like peppy. Anyways, thank you, EJ, for joining us on this stream. We're also going to be joined by Sawyer, who is out in the field right now, getting in position. So we'll have Sawyer here in a little bit, and we also have Julia out in the field, who will be operating our camera for today's launch. So thank you to both of them for getting up bright and early and hustling to get everything set up. We will have Sawyer on comms here in a little bit. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not mention Kevin Michael Reed for pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, doing all the things. Thank you, Kevin, for doing what you do for NSF. Alrighty, let's just get right into it, into the meat and potatoes here. We are launching, well, not we, ULA is launching the SILENTBARKER mission, which is all about space-based situational awareness, which really just means knowing what else is going on in the space environment. And this is particularly for geostationary orbit, not low Earth orbit. EJ, tell us a little bit about what this mission is up to.
So we got an Atlas out on the pad there. This Atlas is going to put SILENTBARKER out to geostationary, as you said. And from what I understand, you know, it's classified mostly. But from what I understand, this satellite is going to go up to geostationary, and it's going to be forming a network that monitors other geostationary satellites from adversarial countries.
Yeah, like right now, we have satellites in LEO that monitor other satellites in LEO, but GEO's kind of a different animal, and I believe most of that tracking right now, or if not all of it, goes on from ground-based sensors, but those can only do, you know, so much. So having satellites dedicated to this purpose in geostationary orbit is another evolution of the capability of tracking everything that's going on up there. I mean, if another satellite is launched by another country and spits out a bunch of little tiny CubeSats or microsats or whatever, we want to know what they're doing, especially if they're coming and sidling up next to one of our satellites, say a spy satellite or a communications satellite or what have you. It's good to know basically what's going on in geo. So SILENTBARKER, that is roughly what we know about it. That's what it will be doing, thanks to some budget documentation. A little bit, you know, you said it was classified, EJ, but it's a little bit, I would say, novel to have this much information about a particular NRO payload.
I mean, there is some, you know, transparency to it, you know, but yeah, this is one of the what the satellite is doing is one of the things that the Space Force is kind of mostly used for. Like what the U.S. Space Force kind of centers around is two big operational missions. It's space debris management, which, I mean, that one's pretty self-explanatory, and space situational awareness. And the space situational awareness is the big one. Basically, Jack, as you said, it's not just looking down at Earth with the, enemy of the state style satellites that are tracking Will Smith around and stuff. It's not just that. They have observation stations on the ground that look up at debris. And there's signals intelligence satellites, which are for communications, monitoring communications up there. And this one is going to be monitoring other satellites out in GEO. Space situational awareness goes all the way up to GEO and even a little bit further than that. Anywhere where there's a lot of stuff operating, where there's a lot of traffic operating, knowing what's going on in space is kind of central to what the Space Force was made for.
Right.
I mean, it isn't anything that the Air Force Space and Missile Systems weren't doing before. But I don't know if you guys noticed, chat, there's a lot more people launching things into space.
Right.
So monitoring that traffic is very, very, very important so you don't get satellites hitting each other. That's pretty important.
Yeah, I mean, you think about like an airport, a terrestrial airport, you're going to have an air traffic control, and you want to know, where are all the planes? Where are all the planes on the tarmac? Where are all the planes that are coming in? What are the ones that just took off? All that sort of stuff is pretty integral to safe operations of an airport. And in the same way, you need to know exactly what's going on in LEO and GEO and beyond in order to, once again, safely operate satellites and just have awareness of what's happening. So that is pretty important. And like you said, it's kind of key to what the Space Force was started to, or I mean, the Air Force was doing it before the Space Force, but now it's sort of like the Space Force's main squeeze, or one of them anyways. We're getting a lot of good questions coming in.
It's just because the reason why the Space Force was made. What's up?
We're getting a lot of good questions coming in. Go ahead, though. Finish your thought.
Yeah, it was just kind of concluding this whole thing so we can move to questions. One of the big reasons why the Space Force was made, why it was put into existence, was because of more people are launching into space. It's just the traffic is getting way more. I don't know if you guys noticed, there's been, 200 launches this year already? We're not even done yet. Like, SpaceX is handling a good amount of those by themselves, but it's just making sure that everything, where everything is. That's how you operate up in space.
Yes, indeed. I mean, you love to see it. 200 launches. That's kind of wild. All right, well, I'm seeing in our back channel that Centaur engine chill down has been underway for a little over 15 minutes now, and liquid hydrogen loading is begun. Atlas LOX is almost fully loaded. Oh, LOX topping is underway. LOX topping. Oh, now I want a bagel. And Centaur hydrogen is at 60%, so good deal. We are seeing the countdown progress. It's been kind of a long road for this mission. I mean, they had to roll it back because of a hurricane. They had a scrub last morning. Is that even a phrase? They had a scrub yesterday. So hopefully today everything goes as planned and we can get this rocket off the ground. Let's do questions. Don't forget, chat, at NASASpaceflight, and we'll see your questions pop up in chat. Let's see, right here, right off the bat, we have Dalmatians, Dalmatians, saying, which direction will Atlas go for today? I believe we have some visibility maps we can pull up here. You can see it's kind of a northeasterly, mostly east trajectory, but there you can see sort of the rings. I love when ULA puts these out. The rings indicate, if you are in this ring, you'll see it at approximately this time after liftoff. So there you go.
So that trajectory is straight due east out of Complex 41.
Okay, thank you.
So that they're aiming for a 90-degree flight azimuth. So the flight azimuth is basically the direction on the compass. Like if you were on the ground and you saw which direction the rocket is going, right, it would head due east. Now, due east out of Kennedy is not necessarily a straight equatorial orbit, right? Due east out of Kennedy is going to get you a 27-degree inclined orbit because Kennedy Space Center, well, I mean, Slick 41 is technically Kennedy Space Center, but it's Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, right? Launch, they're basically at 27 or 28 degrees north, depending on which pad you launch from, right? So you're going to get into about a 28-degree inclined orbit from there. And then from there, they'll probably do some type of out-of-plane burn or some type of transfer trajectory that gets them to GEO, which is more towards equatorial plane. But in order to do that, you have to intersect with it. So launching due east out of the Cape is a good way to do that, especially if you're doing a geostationary transfer.
Good deal. And we'll have to talk about geostationary transfers here in a little bit, just to explain. I mean, it's kind of a pain to get to geo, right?
Oh yeah, it's getting something circularized up at geostationary, which is 23,500 miles straight, like up, or about 37,000 kilometers up there. It's a good way up there. Getting something up there is almost as energy intensive as getting something to the moon. It's very close.
Yeah, I mean, LEO missions are one thing, but geo missions are an entirely different thing altogether. In fact, we have a question here from Mike asking, is this the most powerful configuration of the Atlas? Indeed, this is the 551, the Bruiser. EJ, this has 5 GEM solid rocket motors on it?
I think they're still using the AJ-60A. Chat, double check me on that one, or back channel. There is one version of Atlas, albeit one that's never, I don't think it's flown to my knowledge. They are GEM 63s. Thank you.
Yay.
Yeah, you were right. They switched off AJ-60As a little while. Whoa. They switched off AJ-60As. That was what they were using for a long time. There is one version of Atlas, I think, that is more powerful than this, but not in terms of liftoff thrust. There's Atlas 552. 552 would have 2 engines in the second stage. So, I mean, I don't know. How do you classify, like, oh, is this a more powerful launch vehicle? I don't know. But
yes,
okay,
it is a beefy boy.
AJ-60As are still used for Starliner. Yes, so yeah, we have 5 GEM 63s, and yes, I said 5. Atlas is actually can be launched in an asymmetrical configuration. The reason why they launch with the SRBs in an asymmetrical configuration is because there's stuff in the way. And actually, that RD-180, the liquid fuel engine in the first stage, has enough thrust vectoring or gimbal to be able to compensate for that asymmetric thrust. The other thing is that the nozzles on the GEM 63s are canted out to point through the vehicle's center of mass to keep it more stable. So between the gimbal range on the RD-180 and the pointed out nozzles, you can launch in an asymmetric configuration. And when I say asymmetric, I mean like space shuttle. Like the space shuttle's hanging off one side, right? Yeah, Chris, you're out there somewhere. Space shuttle, asymmetric launch vehicles. Yes.
We hit the space shuttle early in the stream. I think we all get a cookie.
Right. Yeah. There you go. How far are we
Chris is in chat. He's happy.
All right.
So yeah, I mean, famously, Atlas can launch asymmetrically, like you said. Even the what is it, the 511? It's the one with just one solid motor on one side. It's very Kerbal.
Yeah, it's actually really smart idea. You can launch, you have a base kind of liftoff thrust, Atlas, with just the RD-180, but Atlas has 6 different types of payload fairings, 7 if you kind of include the no payload fairing configuration for Starliner.
I'll allow it.
With the smaller series of fairings, the 400 series fairings, you can have up to 3 SRBs, and then with the 5 meter fairing or the 500 series, you can have up to 5. It is a very configurable launch vehicle that's basically designed to go anywhere. You can send it anywhere you want. You can even put people on it. It's really, I mean, it's kind of stinks that Atlas is kind of on its way out, because Atlas V is a very well designed piece of equipment.
Yeah, I mean, the name or the term gets thrown around a lot, workhorse, but Atlas V is truly a workhorse. It is an absolutely marvelous machine, and yeah, it's a little bit sad to see it go away. We had the last West Coast Atlas in November of last year, and I was a little bit sad to see it go. But you know what I'm not sad about is seeing its replacement, Vulcan, come online, because Vulcan is shaping up to be a proper workhorse of its own. And look, we've mentioned horses, so Chris should be doubly happy. If y'all are new to our stream and have no idea what we're talking about, Chris Bergen, founder of NASASpaceflight, loves two things: space shuttle and horses. So we're just trying to make him happy here.
Mm.
Okay, so we do have a little bit of additional information from our back channel. Alex is saying that the 552, the version of Atlas with 2 Centaur engines, has less performance because it increases its dry mass with that second engine on the Centaur. So I would feel safe saying that this is in fact the most powerful variant of Atlas.
See what I mean? It depends on how you look at it. That's exactly, Alex, thank you. That's exactly what I was talking about. It really kind of depends. Like, how do you classify more powerful launch vehicle, right?
And sort of in the same vein, Space is Not Stuff is asking, Space is Not Stuff, we'll get to you in a minute. Starship is asking, what does the 1 in Atlas V 551 stand for?
The third number in any Atlas configuration stands for the amount of engines that are in the second stage. Atlas is capable of launching with a dual-engine Centaur. Now, this is the Centaur 3 variant on Atlas V. You can have 1 RL-10 engine on it or 2 RL-10 engines on it, and that's what that last number denotes on Atlas. The first number denotes the payload fairing size, so it's either a 4 or, well, it could be 4, 5, or N. So 4 meter fairing, 5 meter fairing, no fairing. The second number is the amount of solids that you can get. On the 400 series fairing, that can be 3, up to 3. So if you have 4, the only number the highest number that could come after 4 is 3. And then the last one, and then for, obviously for the 5, you can have 5, right? And then for the last number, it's the amount of engines in the second stage. That's a great question.
Exactly. So like we were talking about, there is an Atlas 552, but that has a higher dry mass because that second stage has an extra engine on it. So the 551, and all the Atlases have like cool nicknames, right? And I believe the 551 is the Bruiser. So that is that's what we're looking at today, sitting right there on Slick 41. But it won't always be that way. Pretty soon, we will have Vulcan launching out of Cape Canaveral Space Force Station once... Max is saying in the back channel that 551 is the Beast. Is it not the Bruiser? I need to get my Atlas nickname straight. Either way, Vulcan, like we were talking about a moment ago, is coming soon. And in fact, we have a pretty sweet video with the director and general manager of launch operations for ULA, Ron Forston. Let's take a look at that.
Hey everybody, Lon Seidman here at Slick 41, where we have just watched the Atlas V rocket roll its way onto the launch pad over here. This is its most powerful configuration with 5 SRBs on board to lift the heaviest amount of weight possible for this rocket, basically for its design. We don't know really much about what's on the payload though, because this is an NRO mission. And the only thing we do know is that this is going to be keeping an eye on things in the space domain, so you can draw your own conclusions about what that means. A little bit earlier though, we talked to the man in charge of making all of this stuff run on time down here. So let's take a look and hear what he had to say. I am joined by Ron Forston, who is the director of moving, well actually everything, but today we're moving a rocket, right? So what are we moving out here today?
That's correct. So we're moving Atlas V. It's our 551 configuration, which essentially has 5 solids. It has a single engine Centaur and a 5 meter fairing on it. So it's about 1.3 million pounds of a vehicle right there, sitting ready to roll out to the pad.
And this is its most powerful configuration.
Yes, it is.
So
it is the most.
This
is the heaviest one we got. So.
And you can't talk about what's on the top of that without taking me into custody.
That's true. I can't do that. So.
And this mission though is for who?
It's for the National Reconnaissance Office. It's through the Space Force. So the Space Force acquired the rocket and they're launching on behalf of the National Reconnaissance Office. So.
Has so much heritage going back to what, 1957 with the original Titan missiles. So how does the evolution take place here? Like what's learned from prior versions that go into this?
I mean, obviously we've continued to evolve. I mean, we always look at improving the performance. So that's one thing we've done. The reliability is another thing we've improved on, and so those are kind of the main things. And then also just making sure that we can satisfy all our customers' requirements, because that's a big deal. We're here to deliver for our customers. So we're constantly looking at ways to design the mission so they can more effectively accomplish the mission for our customers. So.
And we're in the middle of a transition. We have, what, about
Yes.
20 or so launches left of
Yes.
this hardware, and then
Correct.
it's moving to what?
It's moving to Vulcan. Vulcan's our future, and we did a test firing of that one earlier, and we're just getting ready to launch that at the end of this year. So we're really excited, and it takes on a lot of the heritage from both Atlas V and Delta IV, and so we're leveraging all that technology and all that capability and just improving on it. So it's going to be even more. It's going to be even more powerful than the Atlas V vehicle.
And taking what you've learned and bringing it
Exactly,
into this one.
exactly.
And I found what's most intriguing is that Vulcan is going to work with the same hardware here on the pad.
That is true.
To get it
That is
going.
true. Yes, for example, we have a separate mobile launch platform. That's what the vehicle sits on. We have one dedicated for Vulcan. And so when we did our readiness firing test, we basically took that rocket on that mobile launch platform and processed it in this facility here, and we took it out to the same pad. So we'll be launching both Vulcan and Atlas at the same time from the same pad.
And speaking of which, I see your rocket is moving here, so you
Yes.
probably have to get back to work.
All
but
right,
thank you
it
very
is.
much
You're
for
welcome.
joining us today.
Thank you
So,
very much.
excellent.
Okay.
Great.
Good deal. Thank you, seriously, thank you to ULA for letting us tromp around the launch site there and giving us some interviews. It's always awesome when we get information from, dare I say, the horse's mouth itself. I'm just trying to please Chris.
No, dude, I had that on lockdown with the shuttle references, man. Come on.
Good deal. I do want to thank people for coming through with a little bit of support here early this morning. Musical Wolves, thanks for the support. They say, likely we'll be asleep, but seeing the Silent Barker mission patch is really cool. Do Starlings also get mission patches? That is a good question. If they do, they're internal. And I don't believe I've personally seen any, but I could be wrong.
I think that's right about being internal, if at all. If at all.
Musical Wolves also with a super chat. Thank you, Musical Wolves, for all the support. Even if you're asleep right now, they say, why do NRO missions get the coolest patches? I mean, because the NRO is cool? I don't have another answer other than that. EJ, do you have any thoughts on why the NRO mission patches are always the coolest? They really are.
They got good taste? I don't know.
Yeah,
they really are. There's some really sweet NRO patches. My
What's your
favorite one is
okay.
yeah,
You already, what is
dude.
it?
We're on the same wavelength. It's the one with the octopus on it that says nothing is beyond our reach.
Yes, that's
so metal, dude.
One is canonically the best one. I don't care what anybody else says.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, the NRO, who contracted this mission from ULA for their missions, often, if not all the time, they are classified missions, but they do release mission patches. And, you know, the fairings typically have the fairing art on them, which is the same. And it's kind of fun to like try and read tea leaves and look at the patch, but there's really, you know, they're not gonna tip their hand to what the classified payload is. But I don't know, it's just always a treat to look at the and there you can see behind the art. Excellent. I love that the typeface that they've chosen is like, it's very like, I want to say RoboCop. I like it. Kim, thank you for the support, becoming a Pad Rat member. And John Deppner, that's a name we see pop up all the time, gifting a Red Team membership. And Carla Stillman becoming a Pad Rat member. Thank you so much to all of you for supporting our membership program. The membership program absolutely rules. It has all kinds of cool perks. At Capcom level and above, you get Discord access. There's just a slew of member content that we are pumping out, whether it's flyover photos of Starbase, flyover photos of Kennedy Space Center and Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. There is, of course, the Discord itself, which is absolutely delightful. In fact, I'm going to jump into the Discord party chat right now and spam a bunch of emojis to our members. Look, I'm just going to send a bunch of Jeffs because that's the first one that popped up. Hi, members. But for real, we could not do what we do without the membership program. So if you are gifting memberships, if you're upping your membership, if you're becoming a first-time member, whatever it is, you have our sincere thanks because, once again, could not do what we do without y'all. I mean, we could work our butts off on a whole bunch of videos, and thanks to the YouTube algorithm and the vagaries of everything, maybe those videos don't do so hot. but the membership program is the absolute bedrock that everything else we do is built upon. So if you got a gifted membership, thank the person that gifted it to you and check out the cool perks you now have access to. And if you're already a member, you're the best. All right, let's move right along here and check out some more questions. But first, 250 Bythe Park is asking me not to get too sunburnt. Thank you for the support there. I will try. And High Frequency Hertz, thank you for the support. They say, what does Chris Bergen think of Dream Chaser? I think it's safe to say mini shuttle good. We like Dream Chaser here.
Yep.
All right. Falcon Heavy saying it's my birthday, NSF. Happy birthday, Falcon Heavy. And let's see. Here we go. This one's for you, AJ. Ross is asking, in total, do we know how many Atlas V rockets are left?
Oh, at least 9. There's at least 9 that will be used for Amazon. So yeah, that's 9 right off the bat.
Right.
The back channel's saying at 19 total.
Good deal. So we've got a good number left. It's not like this is the end of the line, but we are slowly transitioning over here to Vulcan. And as you heard in that video that just played, at this pad, they will be launching both Atlas and Vulcan at this not at the same time, literally, like, 2 rockets at once, but they are able to reconfigure the pad for either Atlas or Vulcan in the same way that Launch Complex 39A can be configured for Falcon 9 or Falcon Heavy, although that's a little bit different given that, 3-core rocket and the same propellant in that case. In this case, it's still a 1-core rocket, but it's completely different propellant. It's methane and LOX for Vulcan versus, LOX and kerosene for Atlas. Look at that beautiful view. What a lovely morning on the Space Coast.
Launch 2 rockets at the same time, man. Dang straight. Always wanted to do that.
Does anyone ever say to you, you got a case of the Mondays? You don't have to complete the reference. I believe you get your butt kicked saying something like that, man. All right, watch Office Space. I almost said Atlas Space. What's going on?
Coffee.
Yeah,
Red Bull.
Coffee and Red Bull. That's a conversation that happened. Don't do it.
Do it, Jack. Do it.
What we learned this morning before we went live is that if you're going to put coffee and Red Bull together with a coffee machine, you want to make sure the Red Bull is not carbonated. Let's just leave that there.
Don't read too much into that.
John Mal. Oh, I'm gonna butcher your name, John. I'm sorry. John Maldonado is asking, what time is launch? There's a window today, right? It's not like an instantaneous thing.
So they're targeting. I have to go check the documents. Give me 1 second. It's a 8:47 a.m. liftoff time, which is in a little under an hour from now. They are in a 30-minute hold right now, so it's gonna there's time and then there's launch. This is a planned hold to make sure that Atlas is basically nice and healthy. But 8:47 is the start of the window.
Good deal. That is what we want to see. We want to see this thing go and send these satellites into space. Let's see here. Here's one. Space is Not Stuff is asking, will the rocket in the 551 configuration do a power slide off the pad? Since, we were talking about that asymmetrical thrust, should we expect a little bit of a power slide today, or what do you think, EJ?
There'll be a slight cosine loss, but it's not going to be a cosine thrust loss. So meaning a power slide, it's not going to be as apparent as like a 411 launch, or other asymmetric configurations. This thing's going to go up, and it's going to go up pretty dang fast. And I have to do a little bit of a correction there. They are counting right now. They are not in a planned hold. Apologies about that, guys. I need more Red Bull coffee. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, red coffee or coffee bowl. One of the two. Either way, it's cursed.
Coffee bowl.
Good deal. All right. Well, I'm being told that we have Mr. Sawyer Rosenstein in chat, or not in chat, in comms. Sawyer, Are you there?
I am indeed here, Jack. Currently taking a look right now at the Atlas. A little bit of ways in front of me. There's a minimal to no breeze, but beautifully clear skies, except for a couple of clouds right behind the pad.
Good deal. Hopefully, will give us a nice little bit of contrast as this rocket lifts into orbit. Whenever we get clouds on a launch, but not too many clouds, I always think of The Aviator, where Howard Hughes wants to film planes, and he's like, "We need clouds." So clouds good in this case, hopefully.
Yeah.
Sawyer,
As long as it's not the ones that would delay it for weather, which they don't seem to be those kind of cumulus clouds, so we're good.
good deal. Sawyer, do you know about how far away you are from the pad right now?
I believe from here it's about 2.5 to 3 miles approximately. I'm not sure the exact distance. For those who know the area, we're at a place called Loop Road.
Oh, excellent. So I guess the short answer is close enough.
Pretty darn close, yeah.
Good deal. And here you can see a weather radar looking good. Thank you for the general weather report, Sawyer. I mean, any other things to note about the weather? Is there mosquitoes swarming you? Is there well, I guess we already got a cloud report. You said there's no breeze, but we're looking good on weather?
Yeah, last check from ULA, all weather conditions are still go across the board. And here, yeah, it's not super buggy because finally, for the first time since the Euclid mission on July 1st, we have a day launch here at the Cape. It's been that long since we've had a day launch here in Cape Canaveral. So, yeah, otherwise, it's really good. Now over to EJ with sports.
Hand egg.
Well said.
Back to you, Jack.
I can't, you can't. What? All right. Quit Tessa, thank you so much for becoming a Capcom member. We appreciate that so much. And once again, at Capcom level and above, you get Discord access. I feel like I need a sound drop, like a drum roll or something. You get Discord access, or like a little confetti drop, like dee.
Why am I thinking air horn?
Yeah, that also works. But yeah, thank you so much for becoming a Capcom member there, Quit Tessa. We appreciate it so much. And pop into Discord and say hey. All right. Let's do some more questions. Ulapool Kaber is asking, why does the Atlas utilize the RD-180 Russian/Soviet-made engines? EJ, why RD-180?
That's a really long explanation. How much time we got here?
50 minutes, buddy.
Okay, so the reason why Atlas V uses a Russian engine in the first stage comes out of, you got to cast your mind back probably about, well, is it 30 years ago at this point? Don't like that.
God, I'm so old.
Yep. Don't like that at all. We're not going to dwell on that one for very long. We'll just keep going. So, on top of the RD-180 being a very good, very, very good engine, basically at the end of the Cold War, when the Soviet Union collapsed, there was an abundance of really well made rocket engines and rocket engineers coming out of the Soviet Union that were out of a job. Long story short, what the United States did to make sure that these rocket engines didn't get to potential adversarial companies is they started using them. They started using them at the end of the Cold War. There's actually a famous story about this, that there were oxygen-rich stage combustion cycle engines that were left over from the N1 program that found its way onto American rockets. Now, don't get me wrong, the Atlas V does not have some of those engines. That was Antares, and that has been since redesigned, but the technology actually ended up being moved onto American rockets. And when Atlas was being designed in the 90s, they had an abundance of oxygen-rich stage combustion cycle engines for not a very high price, and they're very well-performing first stage engines. They still are to this day. They're a very good motor. So Atlas V, basically, when they engineered it, they engineered it to use those Russian engines, kind of utilizing a company over in the Soviet Union called NPO Energomash. And Energomash has been supplying them engines basically up until 2014, when some stuff went down, and now they're using Vulcan. I condensed that last part of the story for pretty obvious reasons. But
Right.
yeah, it's a good design. It's a really they're good engines. They really are.
I
One
think.
thing I think that's really cool, if you don't mind,
No, please.
Go ahead, man.
especially everyone loves the Raptor engines, how they have the Raptor honk when they shut down.
Mhm.
Well, the RD-180s have a sort of bark when they spool up. So it's really cool because especially if you're there in person, and sometimes you'll hear it on the mic, it sounds like a really deep, visceral bark from a dog that is probably just a tiny little poodle behind a door if you're the mailman. But it's a pretty mighty bark, and then all of a sudden you hear the RD-180 come to life, the single attached with kind of dual engine bottom.
They're loud motors, Sawyer, aren't they? Comparatively to, I mean, for what it is, for a single engine, it is loud.
Oh, exactly.
All right, you know what I'm
It's
gonna do?
definitely loud.
I'm going to spam in chat a link to my Instagram where I have a remote camera video of an Atlas V. It's the last West Coast Atlas V that launched JPSS-2. And you can hear that bark if you want to check that out after the stream. But there's a link in chat. Silent Barker, bark. There's a joke there. Let's just move right along.
No,
I'm so tempted.
No, relax. It's fine. Everything is fine.
Sawyer, what were you going to say?
I was tempted to say something, I don't know, like, well, yeah, it may be a loud bark, but the payload at least is a silent barker.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sawyer. You're the best. Okay, let's move right along and do some more questions. Pew pew pew. I don't know why I feel like this morning I need a soundboard. Let's see. This one's for you, Sawyer. Chris W. What's up, Chris? Is asking: is the Cape water security out in force? Have we seen any security, aka wildlife, out there this morning? Perhaps some gators.
I personally have not seen security yet. Admittedly, where we're located, there's a lot of foliage right in front of the water, so it makes it a little difficult to see along the edge of the water. But definitely can hear some things that jump around in the water. Have not seen our security friends yet.
Good deal. Let's see here. Galactic Games is asking, can the Atlas V do a jellyfish? I believe the answer is yes, although we don't expect one this morning because it's too far after sunrise. Is that an accurate assessment, EJ?
Yeah, that's true. The jellyfish, as much as we love seeing that, it really only happens in certain lighting conditions. You need now, Jack. You're the photographer here. You need a backlit plume, right? So the sun needs to be coming up if you're on the East Coast, or going down if you're on the West Coast, right? You have to have the plume backlit.
It can kind of happen both sunrise and sunset on either coast, but it tends to be more spectacular, like you said, with one on the other and one on the other. I mean, the jellyfish is truly spectacular, and we don't always get it, and that's what makes it extra spectacular. Is it's kind of rare.
That's what makes it special.
Right? If it happened every time, I mean, it wouldn't be quite as special. Good question,
and
though.
A non-jellyfish would be special.
Right, exactly. It'd be like, wow, what a clean launch. Let's see here. Eddie Lai, going back to the SRBs for a moment here, is asking 3 SRBs on one side, 2 on the other. Does that mean the 2 SRBs are more powerful to account for the asymmetrical thrust? I don't believe so, right, EJ?
No, they're all the same. Atlas is an asymmetric launch vehicle like the space shuttle. Yes, that's 2.
Ding.
It's asymmetrical. How they compensate is with the RD-180. So the RD-180 has 1 power pack, so 1 set of turbine machinery and 2 nozzles. The nozzles can individually move. They can individually move each nozzle. Both nozzles don't work in unison, so you can compensate for the offset thrust by tilting one of the engines out, or one of the nozzles on the RD-180. It's one engine. You can tilt one of the nozzles out. And that's basically what they do. That's what the computer is commanding the RD-180 to do. One of the nozzles on it will point slightly outward to compensate for the asymmetric thrust. It's a really trick design. Atlas is really, really, really well engineered.
It really is. It's a fantastic vehicle. And if I might say, if I am allowed to be a bit partisan, I do believe the 5-meter fairing Atlas is, in fact, the most beautiful Atlas. And dare I say, the 551, it's kind of like the canonical Atlas. Like, it just looks proper, for lack of a better word. I don't know how else to say it. This Atlas, to me at least, is best Atlas.
Also, we're talking about the asymmetric thrust. I believe it was just yesterday was the anniversary of a different Atlas launch, and that was the launch of OSIRIS-REx on its way to Bennu, which, again, scheduled to land in the deserts of the U.S. later this month. But that was a 401, so 4-meter fairing, a 411, a 4-meter fairing, and had only one solid rocket motor on it. So talk about asymmetric thrust. It literally kind of slid off the pad. If you look at the contrail, if you go back and see the launch again, it literally kind of goes sideways and up before its normal arc over. And it's okay doing it that way.
Good deal. Yep. Nothing wrong with a little bit of asymmetrical thrust as a treat.
Shuttle, asymmetric, all day. I mean, the shuttle slides off the shuttle. Well, in my mind, it still flies. Sorry about that. It slid off the pad every time it launched.
I think it's safe to say here at NASASpaceflight, the shuttle flies still in all of our minds.
And hearts.
And hearts. Thank you. Here's one. I don't know if you're going to have a fancy answer for this, EJ or Sawyer, but Doug's Bits 2R is asking, why is max Q called max Q and not MDP for maximum dynamic pressure?
Sawyer, you want this one?
Why do we call max Q max Q?
Sure. It all has to do with physics. It's basically, I believe, the representation of pressure in this instance would be Q, just like speed of light is C, energy is E, if you think of E equals MC squared kind of thing. Yep. I believe that it's just represented as Q. So that's why it is max Q.
Well, thank you, Sawyer, for that answer.
Ooh, that was good. No. And I'm glad he picked that one from the queue to ask.
Yep. Yeah, that was in the question queue.
I don't like any of this. Chad, I don't approve of this behavior. I'm not going to lie to you.
It's one of those mornings.
I love it.
I'm full of coffee and Red Bull.
And I'm running on 1 hour sleep, so.
Woohoo! Classic. All right, let's do some more questions. People are really going down the rabbit hole here on asymmetrical thrust. Ricardo is asking if a vehicle with asymmetrical thrust needs to compensate a little bit for that asymmetrical thrust, wouldn't it make it slightly less efficient than all the thrust being focused downwards? Is that something they compensate for with the, like you were talking about, EJ, with the canted nozzles, allowing that thrust to go through the center of mass of the vehicle?
Well, that has something to do with it, but what we're doing here is getting into basic trigonometry, okay? So there's going to be some math. I know it's early and I know it's the weekend, so just bear with me here. I'll try to. I won't bore you to death here, okay? So the long story short is that you're dealing with cosine thrust loss. All right. So yes, that is right. You're going to bear a little bit of an efficiency hit. The reason why, in plain English, is because, well, gravity is pushing straight down relative to the ground. If the engines don't push straight up, basically opposite parallel with the force of gravity, you are going to have some translation thrust. You're going to move a little bit sideways, hence the power slide off the pad. Now, the reason why Atlas does this is, one, because they can't put the SRBs symmetrically on it because of existing systems on the Atlas Common Core. All right, so the Atlas has that CCB. That's the center core with the fuel tanks for the RD-180. It's called the Common Core Booster. In Delta, it was called a Common Booster Core, but you get the idea. So that CCB has components on it, like the liquid oxygen downcomer, that would be in the place for certain asymmetric configurations. So they had to kind of place the SRB mount points in a 2 on one side, 3 on the other configuration, and place the SRBs asymmetrically. So yeah, you do take an efficiency hit, but Atlas makes up for that. Obviously it makes up for that because the RD-180 can really, really chooch off the pad. It's a very powerful motor. And obviously with some SRBs on the sides, it's, Atlas as a whole system can really move some really heavy stuff up there. or high mass, I should say. Weight has nothing to do with it. So basically, the efficiency hit that it does cost you, you make up for the fact that you can basically put whatever you want wherever you want. It's a trade-off. Engineering is always a trade-off, right? But that slight efficiency hit that you take from a cosine thrust loss by having your engines angled slightly out is compensated for. It basically can handle it. The end goal of that is more configurability with the vehicle.
Good deal.
Hopefully you're not bored.
No, I'm not bored. This is a
Tried to
lot
keep
of
that
math
simple.
for this early in the morning, but I mean, we're getting good answers here, so thank you for that.
Sweet.
We are somewhere we're like 4 minutes away from the start of a planned hold. It is a 30-minute hold, and so we will go from L minus 34 minutes to L minus 4 minutes once we come out. Oh, sorry, it'll be T minus 4 minutes once we come out of the hold. Do we want to confuse our listeners with a description of the L minus versus T minus times that we have for ULA launches? It's something that ULA does that, you know, SpaceX and other launch providers do necessarily. L minus is different than T minus. Who wants to jump on that grenade?
I'll take it. I don't think it's that difficult. Basically, the L minus is a continuously running clock. So that is time until launch. That clock, no matter what, will never stop until hopefully it hits T0. Or when it hits 0 seconds, we'll say. So L minus 0. The T minus clock can stop while the L minus clock continues to roll. So basically that allows them, like we have here, built-in holds to double-check systems, catch up if they're a little bit behind, make sure everything is ready to go before they do their final polling. So basically, L minus clock doesn't stop, T minus clock sometimes does. But in the end, T0 and L0 are the same.
Good deal. That wasn't that confusing. You're right.
Yeah, I tried to
Today
make
I
it
learned.
easy.
There you go.
I oversold it. Don't forget, chat, if you have any questions about today's mission, just at NASASpaceflight in chat and ask away. We're getting some really good stuff this morning from y'all, so keep them coming. All right. Looking at everything here, making sure things are ticking along. It looks like right now we are in the weather briefing phase of the countdown. And once again, as Sawyer, you just mentioned, everything appears to be green weather-wise. That's hard to say.
Coffee.
Yeah, right. Is that correct?
Yeah, last we had heard from ULA themselves is that everything is good. And just based off of what I'm visually seeing here, where there's minimal clouds in the sky, except for, again, a slight backdrop on the rocket there, everything is beautiful, barely any wind, occasionally a breeze, which is very welcomed, I'll say, because it's in the 80s or so Fahrenheit. But other than that, everything is looking good to go.
Hooray. Sort of following up on our T minus or L minus clock discussion, I'm not gonna be able to pronounce this. Colloquials World is asking, what does T or L mean? I'm guessing T means time and L means launch.
Correct.
Sawyer?
You nailed it.
Yay! I get a cookie.
Well, if we get more likes, then we get cupcakes. So, you know.
Is that that's a thing that Nightbot says, isn't it?
Wait.
It is.
Yeah, EJ, there's like a slew of Nightbot commands in the YouTube chat that I don't even know where they came from. I suspect it's all Chris Bergen, but yeah, there we go. John Deppner just did ! Cupcake, and Nightbot says, for every 100 likes, we ship NSF a cupcake. They are hungry. I have no idea where that came from, but that's a thing in the YouTube chat. Anyways,
I'm okay with this.
do we have an EJ command yet? Hang on! ! EJ.
Oh no, I don't want to know what that brings up.
I don't think we have an EJ command yet.
All right, cool.
No,
don't mind me. I'm just nobody.
Well,
By the way,
I
should point out, if I can interrupt for a second,
Please.
We are currently looking at essentially a fully fueled rocket. As Centaur LO2, liquid oxygen, and LH2, liquid hydrogen, are now at flight level.
Perfect. That's what we want to see as we get closer and closer to launch. Just over 34 minutes away this morning. If it goes at the top of the window.
Which we're hoping.
Right. I always sort of feel like, and this is me putting my tinfoil hat on a little bit, but I always feel like with these NRO missions, they're like, yeah, we'll go at the start of the window, and then there's like a mysterious hold at some point that is not planned. They're like, oh, hang on, and then they go, at some random time that in my tinfoil hat universe, they always plan to go, but they want to obfuscate the launch time. Of course, having said all of that right now, they're going to go smack dab at the start of the window and completely blow my conspiracy theory out of the water. Go ahead, Sawyer.
Listening, man.
I hope so, first off, but yeah, and again, and hold. So even though, as you mentioned, the hold is 30 minutes, they have the option to extend when they get to the T-minus 7-minute mark and do the go, no-go poll. So as of now, with a 30-minute hold, it can be extended. That's what you're talking about there, as opposed to an additional hold. They make it longer.
Good deal. All right. Going over ground we've already tread for a moment here, but some people might be joining the stream and haven't seen the beginning of the stream. Mercon is asking, what configuration is the Atlas V in for this launch? EJ, take it away.
It's a 551 configuration here, meaning that we have the 5 meter or the 500 series variant Atlas with the bigger payload fairing. And then the second 5 in the 551 is 5 GM63 solid rocket boosters. And then the 1 indicates 1 engine in the upper stage, a single RL-10 attached to that Centaur 3 in the second stage. I'd also like to point out that I didn't really get into this a little bit earlier, but the second stage in the 500 series configuration for Atlas is actually inside, quote unquote, inside of the payload fairing. Not a lot of people know that. Second stage is riding inside of the wider structure on Atlas V on the upper part. And the Centaur, the cool thing about that is, and this is the kind of the reason why you'd need a 500 series fairing, you can't just put a bigger fairing on top of that Centaur. The balloon tank won't be able to handle that load. Centaur is very, very thin and relies on tank pressure for structural rigidity. So because Atlas is designed to launch heavier payloads and you want to launch a higher mass payload, you need more thrust down there. It can't take the compression load. So the fairing actually takes some of that load. There is a load reactor built in, or the Centaur Forward Load Reactor, or CFLR for short, up there that is actually taking some of the load from the payload and transmitting it out to the outer walls of the fairing. So Centaur is actually kind of inside of that fairing. You can see it right there. It's really, really interesting stuff. There are other rocket providers that are experimenting with load reactors and basically hanging your upper stage inside of payload fairings. But Atlas has been doing it for a long time. Yep.
I'm immediately thinking of, Neutron? With the second stage there, sort of tucked away inside the payload fairing. I believe that second stage also uses a balloon tank sort of configuration.
That's right. If you hang the second stage, it's not susceptible to compression load and you don't need to make it as strong, right? It's actually a really, really smart idea. But engineering is always a trade-off. By doing that, you need to add more dry mass somewhere else. That structure has to go somewhere. So with Neutron, they put the structure onto the actual first stage and kind of the payload fairing kind of rides with it, right? So the load reactor is extra mass, so you're going to take a little bit of a performance hit by putting that somewhere else. But since it's on the first stage, when you let the second stage go, you're going to get a better mass fraction with your second stage, and it can be more efficient. It's always a trade-off.
Oh, yeah, it all comes back to trade-offs. And if you have a really, really, really efficient upper stage, then you can afford to put some more mass on your first stage. And it's all sort of, rockets are like engineering Rubik's Cube. It's like, how can I turn all the squares to be red on one side? Anyways, you get it. I don't know anything about Rubik's Cubes. Can you tell? Or engineering.
Also interesting, while we're talking about fun things with the fairings and the numbering and all of that, it's pretty much every single Atlas that's ever launched has had a 1 at the end, meaning a single engine Centaur. That only first changed in 2019, I believe it was, for the first test flight of the version that was carrying Starliner. Starliner is in its own weird class of configuration called an N22. So that means no fairing, because there's the capsule, 2 solids, and then 2 Centaur engines. But pretty much anything that doesn't have the crew capsule on it is basically always going to be one Centaur upper stage for Atlas.
Good deal. And I see in our back channel that weather is go. Excellent.
Woo! There even was
I'm seeing,
there. Hold on,
I'm
real
seeing
quick.
Holly. Go ahead.
No, I got this. Trust me. This is good. There even was, at one point, a proposed Atlas configuration that has 3 Atlas center cores kind of strapped to each other, like kind of Delta IV Heavy style. So it's called Atlas HLV. They never ended up doing it because there was no need for it. But there was another variant of Atlas with 3 common core boosters strapped together. The pad, according to Tori Bruno, the pad can supposedly handle it. But, I mean, kind of want to see that, but we've never seen it fly.
Yeah, it just like with the Saturn V and the crazy design configurations they explored with like the Minuteman solid motors on the side of it. Like there have been a variety of engineering studies done over the years with Atlas and a lot of different rockets. And some of the configurations proposed are, dare I say, downright Kerbal. And I certainly wouldn't mind having some sort of dimensional vortex that I could jump into to see an alternate timeline and see an Atlas Heavy launch. That would be pretty wild. Let's see here. Astro 3DI is asking, with so many new rockets using or planned to use methane for first stages, do we see a long-term future for RP-1 as a fuel, considering its very high energy density? I'll throw this to both of you here in a second, but to me, RP-1 is very good because it's very energy dense, but it is not so good in the sense that you're not going to get super complete combustion of that RP-1, just given the nature of its chemical makeup. It's not like it's not like methane, right? Where when you burn it, or hydrogen for that matter, where you burn it and you do it right, and you basically get nothing out the other end except for water vapor. RP-1, that's famously why when Falcon 9 comes back to land and does its entry burn and flies through its own exhaust plume, it gets all sooty, right? It's not getting burnt up by that entry. It's actually flying through its own dirty exhaust.
Yeah. So, there are
hey,
other
I remember
reasons.
seeing that the other night.
Yeah, all right. Nice. There are other reasons why that happens, Jack. And how much do we want to nerd out here? Like, how is it still too early to nerd out this hard? Or
it's full nerd. Always go full nerd.
Okay, so the other thing to take into account is that the Merlins, like let's take the Merlin engines on Falcon 9. Those things it's not only incomplete combustion that you're getting there. The gas generators on Merlin actually run extremely fuel rich. So you're running way more fuel than you are oxidizer. They do that and they go well rich away from what's called stoichiometry, which is like ideal amount of fuel, ideal amount of oxidizer to get the most efficient burn. They actually run super fuel rich for cooling purposes because the fuel is absorbing the heat that's generated from the combustion. That's coming out of the gas generators. That's coming out of the turbine machinery on the Merlin engines. That's why it gets all sooty. But you're getting a lot of unburnt resources coming out the bottom, but it's because they're running fuel rich. Now, that's not to say that, like an oxygen rich stage combustion cycle, like what's on the RD-180 isn't going to do the same thing. The reason, honestly, guys, you really want to know, if you look at a rocket engine and the clearer the exhaust coming out of the bottom of the rocket, the more efficient it is, right? Ideally, you just want combustion byproducts coming out of there that are really, really hot. But with an RD-180, you see a lot of fuel. It's a yellow flame, very distinct yellow flame. Like same with Antares, right? Rip the 230 Plus. That was an awesome rocket. You see very, very yellow plumes come out. That is because they also run fuel rich on those types of not necessarily on Antares and Atlas. They're not fuel rich, but they do use film cooling that does give you that kind of flame, but you're still not totally efficient. But yeah, part of the reason why Falcon 9 comes down in that soot is because they're running fuel rich through the gas generator to keep it cool so it doesn't melt.
Good deal. And I'm seeing in our back channel that this launch is dedicated to Captain Albert R. Perez. U.S. Navy. Good stuff. Well, now that the rocket is fully fueled and the fuel sequence is complete and we're in this hold, let's perhaps learn a little bit about how propellant is loaded onto the rocket.
Why are they horizontal tanks? Like, why don't they just make one huge tank that's really tall?
We have both here.
Okay.
I don't know, Keith, do you want to
Yeah.
know any more about that?
Yeah, so the decision to either get a spherical tank or a horizontal tank depends on what your footprint on the pad is. So obviously, these horizontal tanks, they're easy to transport, but they take up more footprint. So a spherical tank is just one tank, one feed line. These tanks can be isolated, so you could have multiple long horizontal tanks that can be isolated with a common feed system too, though. So it really depends on the layout of your launch pad, as well as transportation of actually who's building it and who's transporting it to the pad. So different items like that.
Just like the big spherical tanks, you almost have to construct here on site. Well, these, I don't know if they constructed these on site. It looks there's crane attach points. It looks like. But you could have transported these down a road, maybe.
Both tanks were transported here. But yeah, you're right. Transportation definitely more difficult for a big spherical tank than multiple smaller horizontal tanks.
Gotcha. It makes sense. I mean, again, there's so much that goes into making the launch happen. That's not the launch itself. Yeah. Like your systems down here need to work, or on launch day you're not going to be able to load the rocket. Right? And there's a whole what's the right way to say it?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of your
side.
side.
I was going to say that the whole processing the pad, making sure the pad's set up for launch is just as important as the launch day itself. You're working all the ground systems until they're ready, and you maintain them until day of launch. So that's just as important as actually launching the vehicle.
Absolutely. I have to ask this, all right? When we watch launches, we can see the flares, right?
Yes.
And so I specifically have to ask, where are the flares that we would see? There's two big flares over there that seem to be connected to the raceway that goes over the methane tank. So those are going to be...
This one, you talking about that one.
Okay.
Okay.
This one's LNG.
Right.
We have two flares, as you can see.
Yep.
We have one that's for just the ground system. So everything you see right there, one of them's connected directly to the rocket.
Really?
So when the rocket gets here, one of the connections we make is that vent. And so anytime, like I said, we vent LOX off the side of the rocket, you can't do that with liquid natural gas. So we vent it through here and then we burn it using propane. And that's the big flare that you might see. It's easy to see during the day.
Yep.
It's a really pretty color. It's really bright.
Yep.
So anytime that you might see a really big burst would typically be either the vehicle venting or one of our storage tanks venting. Should we move down?
Yes, if you want to move down, we can move down.
Good deal. Well, today I learned that a flare stack is a propane accessory. Boy, I tell you what, that is a clean burning fuel.
Oh, propane and propane accessories, boy. Those are great.
That's a really good Hank Hill. Cool deal. Well, we are being told that upper level winds have been verified acceptable for launch. Another good sign that we are steadily ticking towards a liftoff of this vehicle from Slick 41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Sawyer, checking in with you, buddy. How you doing out there?
Sweating, but in a good way. That means that it's a beautiful, as you mentioned, sunny day. No real breeze down here. The fact that upper level winds are acceptable is always great because they will put out a weather forecast ahead of time and they can kind of guess upper level winds, but that's not factored usually into the go percentage. So the fact that regular and upper level winds are good is always great to hear.
Sweet. And as we are now under 20 minutes away from launch, it is time for me to ask this question from 9/8 Central, saying, does this vehicle have a T-minus 2 minute, 20 minute, okay, confusing question. Does this vehicle doesn't have...
Junior? Sorry.
Wow. This vehicle doesn't have a T-minus 20 minute vent, right? I mean, it's venting right now, but it's not the same as Falcon. It's two completely different countdown flows, right, EJ?
Yeah. The 20-minute vent on Falcon is to load commodities into the second stage because SpaceX utilizes a fast fill system. They try, so it's basically SpaceX, because they're trying to squeeze as much performance out of those propellants and commodities as they can, right? They fill it up as fast as possible. ULA doesn't do that. This thing was fully fueled a little while ago. There's no vent down on the stack. The other thing is the second stage is using a different fuel. They use the same liquid oxygen, right? But this is a hydrolox second stage, not a Carolox second stage. So you're gonna run into different fueling procedures, because of that.
Good stuff. Altair Studios is saying Lox is the imposter. I saw him vent. I get it. It's like that. It's from that game, the Among Us game. That's funny.
Amogus, yes.
That's kind of sus, dude.
Ding, ding, ding,
Oh
ding.
man, it's been a long time since I've played that. We should do like an NSF Among Us game. Let's see here. Moving right along. Lillian Shazen says, "Long live the shuttle." I think we can all agree that. With that.
Yes.
Long live the shuttle. And JD Brown, thank you for the support. They say, why is it ULA tradition to add names of deceased ULA employees and or members onto any ULA rockets? I mean, I don't know that we have a really particularly good answer for that, other than it's kind of just a nice thing to do. It's a classy thing to do.
Yeah, it's a nice way to honor the people that have worked on this rocket for so long, and I guess to give them a final send-off in glory there. And they're not the only ones. Remember, Northrop Grumman now, formerly Orbital ATK, formerly Orbital, named their Cygnus resupply vehicles after people as well.
Good deal. I mean, it's worth just mentioning briefly that a lot of the time, we talk about Tory Bruno, or we talk about the vehicle, or we talk about the payload, or, in the case of SpaceX rockets, we talk about Falcon 9, or we talk about Elon, or, all of these things. But really, the people that are working their tails off behind the scenes to get these missions to work and to get these payloads into orbit, it takes hundreds, if not thousands, of people all around the country, all around the world, in order to make these missions work. And to honor some of those people who, may have passed before their time is a really, really good thing to do. Because it's not just about the figureheads at the top of the company. We should also consider that for a lot of people, whether it's the people working on the payload or the rocket or the ground systems or what have you, this is their life's work. This is their career. This is what they have sunk so much time and energy into. Long hours, overtime, missing dinner with the family, whatever it is. These things take an entire mass of people, and it's a nice thing to do, to honor some of them. Sorry, I got a little philosophic there for a moment. All right. Well, we are at L minus 15 minutes and 10 seconds and counting. Well, I guess we're not counting because we're still in that hold, right, Sawyer?
Well, you're technically correct that we're at L minus. Well, you're technically correct that we're at L minus 15 and counting, but we are at T minus 4 minutes and holding. Again, right. L minus doesn't stop and continues all the way through launch, whereas the T minus has the built-in holds, in which case currently a 30-minute hold that hopefully at L minus 7 minutes we should be getting word on whether we're going to go or not.
Good deal. And yeah, there's that T minus L minus thing biting me again. I'll remember it someday, I promise.
Yeah, I will say, regardless of the T or the L here, man, casting with you guys, I mean, it was like an hour and a half out from launch like a second ago. Now we're inside of 15 if I'm looking at the T or the L right there. That's just like to say, it's fun. It's fun casting here with you guys. I do enjoy it. And chat, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, guys. And I really appreciate having this opportunity. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's always fun to stream these things. I mean, that's honestly one of the cooler parts of the job. I mean, I'm down here in Starbase. I get to see Starship every single day, and it's never stops being awesome, and it's so cool and surreal to see. And as much as I love photographing rockets, I think I equally love being able to bring this stuff to people around the world. It's absolutely wild that we can do something like this, that we can share in the excitement of this new space age with people everywhere. And the only reason we can do that is because of everybody's support. And, you know, whether or not you can support us monetarily, the fact that you're hanging out with us this morning and spending your Sunday morning waiting for this rocket to lift Silent Barker into space, it's pretty dang cool. To use a technical term, it's pretty dang cool. For real, though, thank you, everybody, for coming out, hitting the like button, just watching, whatever it is that you're doing to support what we do. It's awesome, because I don't know if you can tell, we all kind of love this, and we wouldn't be able to do it if nobody cared. So, hooray, people care.
I was going to say, that hour and 15 minutes went by real fast, you know?
Yeah, no kidding. And just under 13 minutes now. Slayer, when we come out of the plan hold at L-4, is that correct?
Yeah, it will. At that point, the L and T minus clocks will be synchronized, so it'll be L-4 and T-4 and counting.
Excellent. So we are getting ever closer to that. Let's see here. Again, if you guys have any questions, now is the time to ask them. Let's see here. I'm looking for some more questions. Cameron Whiteman is asking, didn't Atlas used to be orange, or am I wrong? I think you're thinking of Delta, my guy.
Oh, no.
No, I believe it was originally, like the original Atlas, the first one that flew back in like 1990. That one, I believe, looked more of a copper color for the core, for that first stage, basically. Delta does use the foam, the Sophie, the spray-on foam insulation. But yes, it did look slightly different early on, but it hasn't looked that way in a while.
So, when you said earlier Atlases, you were talking about Atlas 3. Atlas 3 had orange spray-on foam insulation on the second stage, on the Centaur. The first stages on the Atlas, on Atlas 2 was, you know, they had stainless, right? Because it was still using that original balloon tank design. And then 3, and then all the way up to 5, they switched to what's called anodized aluminum. On the core, on the Atlas Common Core, it's anodized aluminum now. That kind of gives it that orangish color, but they switched to white spray-on foam insulation for the second stage, for the Centaur.
Good deal. Let's see here. It's orange. I had to do it. I'm sorry.
No.
I had to do it.
I was afraid of that.
I knew you were. That's like a good chunk of the reason why I did it in the first place. I'm sorry. MacGyver, I think that's how I say this. MacGyver JMB is becoming a Red Team membership. No, gifted a Red Team membership. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it. If you got that gift, be sure to thank them. Oh, wow. Here you can see the dedications on the vehicle. In memory of our friend, shipmate, and patriot, Captain Alberto Al Perez, and in memory of our colleagues and friends, Wendy Miller, Estelle Morgan, the ULA team. I mean, I don't even know what else to say other than just what a nice thing to do.
ULA is the classiest company around. Nobody gets classier than Tory Bruno. He is the classiest CEO ever, and you know that comes from the top. Leadership comes from the top. He's going to be classy. The company's going to be classy. Simple as that.
I wonder. This is way off the rails here. I wonder what Tory Bruno's drink of choice is. What a life goal. Like, sit down with Tory Bruno, have a drink, and just chat. I feel like that would be a hoot.
That.
Right? I would do that in a heartbeat.
Responsive on Twitter.
Yeah, we could always ask him.
Maybe I should do that. Cool deal. All right. Well, we are under 10 minutes now. Look at that. The clock is now almost at 9 minutes. We are getting ever closer to launch. 9 minutes. Really? No one's going to do the Ferris Bueller? Okay. Anyways, moving on.
Bueller.
9 minutes?
9 minutes?
Thank you. I really had to force that one. But whatever. It is what it is. 98 Central is asking, is there a name for the robot camera that tracks the rockets? I don't think we have a name for it yet. Like maybe like Tracky or Roby?
Ours are the official ones, because the official ones use what's called a kinetic tracking mount, or KTM. That's the fanciest name you'll get there. Otherwise, ours? I don't think so.
Good stuff. And I'm seeing in our back channel that launch on time verified.
Yeah,
so that
buddy.
sounds like they're going at the top of the window, which is excellent, because that's just 8 minutes away. And you know what could be, well, not 8 minutes away, but pretty nearby is our merch store. And if you grab something from the merch store, it can show up at your house, not in 8 minutes, but pretty quickly. We have all kinds of awesome merch in the store, talking about different ways you can support what we do. We've got clothing, we've got patches, we've got stickers, we've got everything. In fact, we also have metal prints. Hey, look at that. We have metal prints. We have some fancy new ones of full stack Starship, but we're not talking about Starship today. We're talking about Atlas. And if you want an Atlas specific metal print, there you can check out a shot I took of the RD-180s on Atlas V. That is from, I believe, Landsat 9 out of Vandenberg Space Force Base, but we were talking about RP-1 a little bit earlier and how it is, that bright yellow flame. I mean, there you go. You love to see it. And here is a shot. I believe this one is from Max? I'm probably wrong. Who is this one from? I can't read it. Oh, no. Either way, what a cool streak shot. It's a daytime streak shot, but it's not quite a long exposure. It's because of those plumes from the SRBs, which, it really makes for a spectacular image, especially with that sunrise look. So there you go. If you want to support what we do, head on over to the merch store, grab something. Metal prints are kind of extra cool because the photographer that shot the image gets a cut of the sale there. So it's not only a way to support us, but also the photographers who shot the image. And as you can see...
Spoiler, I have an ND filter on, by the way, so maybe trying for something similar.
Ooh.
Oh, there we go.
Love to hear it. Well, what do you got, like a 10-stop ND, Slayer?
1,000?
Yeah, I think that's 10-stop. Excellent. Oh, buddy. You're getting me all hyped up. T-minus 6
Should be
minutes.
to the poll.
L-minus 6 minutes and counting. And we are in the poll, as you just said. So we are now polling. Good stuff.
So the final poll here, for the people that don't know, is basically when ULA goes around the horn. The launch director goes around the entire horn for all the people that control the subsystems on the rocket. So in mission control, you're going to have somebody looking at the engines. You're going to have somebody looking at hydraulics. You're going to have somebody looking at pneumatic systems, oxidizer systems, fuel systems. Everybody is kind of in charge of their own station. What these people are doing is they're basically monitoring the numbers on the rocket. If you don't have the right amount of oxidizer, you're not going to get very far. Certainly not going to get where you intend to go. So going around the horn here is something that pretty much every rocket does that. They go around the horn, they make sure that everybody is ready to go. Everybody that's in charge of their subsystem on the rocket is ready to fly.
Good deal. And the poll is go. So
Yep.
we are go for launch here in just about 5 minutes. We've got a minute to go in this hold. And when the L- clock hits L-4 minutes, the L- and T- clocks will be synced. Sunk? Will be sunked? Sure.
No, you're right. Synced.
Good deal.
It's a succinct version of synchronized.
Wow, Sawyer. How do you do it? It's just, okay, moving on. Richard Cochran, thank you for the support. Very generous of you. They say, thank you for your coverage, guys. Well, thank you, Richard, for supporting what we do here. All right, we are getting into the business end of the count here. L-4 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Just about to come out of that planned hold. And what a beautiful shot of Atlas V sitting proudly atop Slick 41. You'll love to see it.
You do love to see it, indeed.
Holy guacamole!
Yeah, baby!
Russell Snodgrass, one of those names we see pop up all the time with extremely generous support. Russell, holy cow, buddy, with $100 super chat, saying, great morning for a launch and bacon omelet. Thanks for the stream. Well, I know what I'm making after the stream. Now I want a bacon omelet. Russell.
By the way, we are counting. We are officially counting past T- and L- 4 minutes.
Excellent. Russell, I don't even know how to properly thank you, especially not with the remaining time that we have here before launch. But, I mean, we've said it to you many times because you've come out and supported us with these very generous super chats many times. But just so you know, thank you so much. It is so appreciated. That is a significant amount of money. It's absolutely nothing to shake a stick at, nothing to bark silently at. But
dude.
But
dude, if I'm going to hear, I'm going to try
Russell.
and go hear the bark, so I'm going to hop off comms, and I will rejoin you after liftoff.
Good deal, Sawyer. Godspeed, and we'll see you on the other side, buddy. Get some awesome shots for us.
I will do my best.
See you on the other
Excellent.
side, Ray. Don't cross the streams.
There is no Jack, only Zool. Moving
Yes.
right along, as we just pepper in some movie references into stream. T-minus 2 minutes, 38 seconds, and counting. It's also L- because remember now they're sunk up. But here we go. We're getting into the business end. How are you feeling, EJ?
I'm good. Everything's good. If ULA goes around the horn and everybody there says it's good, that means I'm good.
Well, good. Good deal.
Well, good.
Good. That's good that you're good.
It's good that you're good too, man.
All right, 2 minutes to go. I'm really looking forward to this. This is shaping up to be a beautiful morning launch here out of the Cape. I'm trying to see if I can find another question that we can rapidly answer. Ray Hope's laptop, will you upload the live stream to YouTube later? Yeah, you can totally, this will be up on YouTube after the stream, so you can watch it whenever you please. Michael is asking, what kind of fuel do the SRBs on the rocket use? Are these using P-band? Polybutyl, oh god, I don't remember the acronym.
It's ammonium perchlorate and hydroxyl terminated polybutadiene.
Hydroxyl terminated polybutadiene.
It's got aluminum flakes in it, too.
Yeah, put that in your cereal.
It's very metal.
All right, coming up on T-minus 1 minute to go. Everybody, send your best vibes to Atlas V as it gets ready to loft the SILENTBARKER NROL-107 mission into geostationary orbit. This
50 seconds.
This is excellent. We never did our deep dive on Geo versus Leo, but perhaps we'll hit that after launch here.
Maybe.
30 seconds. I'm kind of at a loss for words here, and it's a good thing because when this baby ignites, we will quiet up, and you will be able to listen to the roar of those 5 solid motors and the RD-180 engines. So here we go. T-minus 15 seconds and counting. Let's do this thing. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff of Atlas V. Let's listen in. Excellent. The vehicle has already passed through max Q and throttled up as it continues to push its payload into orbit. Next up, we'll see those GEM 63 solid motors burn out and drop away. What a beautiful morning's launch, and what an awesome sound to hear the rumble of mighty Atlas doing its thing.
Some very nice golden hour lighting there on the
You'll
vehicle.
love to see it.
There. Love to see it.
There goes the SRBs.
Yep.
Are they? I mean, EJ, is it proper to call them SRBs, or should I be calling them solid motors? I guess the ULA stream says SRB.
It really depends on who. You can call it an SRM, you can call it an SRB. It really depends. I usually go with what they call it. So if another launch provider called it an SRM, I'd call it an SRM. But we have SRB jettison there on the ULA stream there, so I stick with SRBs.
Excellent. Atlas continuing to thrust its payload downrange. Good deal. And next up will be payload fairing jettison. Is that correct?
Yes. They'll jettison the upper payload fairing, and then I say upper payload fairing. They're really jettisoning the entire fairing in one shot. Remember, I was talking about how part of the fairing is used to hold the load, so not much load is on Centaur. So you're going to see the payload fairing separate, and then you're going to see the CFLR jettison right after that, the Centaur forward load reactor. It's a structural component that's used to take load off Centaur because of the compression load that gets put on the vehicle from the solid rocket boosters.
Good deal. And as we watch Atlas do its thing here, I do want to thank Methane Man for gifting 20 Red Team memberships. Thank you, Methane Man. There goes the fairing! Aha! Awesome. What a view.
Yep.
This is a beautiful rocket cam shot.
It's very interesting to see those big fairings interact, and there goes the load reactor with it. They interact with the plume. When they fly through the plume, it does push the fairing out and kind of flip it around.
Absolutely beautiful. You'll love to see it. You see the limb of the Earth there. Just absolutely beautiful.
That fairing is very, very large. You could park a school bus inside of it.
Or like, sometimes ULA will do the graphic like with the whales.
And tanks. I like it.
All right, so this being an NRO mission, it's pretty typical for us to lose the on-rocket cameras around this point in flight because, classified mission. So that might be all that we get from ULA in terms of the rocket cameras. But look at that plume drifting away from Slick 41. Absolutely beautiful morning launch here. You'll love to see it.
You'd love to see it.
Yes, you do.
Blair, buddy.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm very happy because launches always make me very happy. But yep, as expected, you hear that little bit of a bark, and then the sound just comes and hits you. It was bright. It was beautiful. Again, those 5 solid rocket motors really make it stand out. And the fact that the entire path up, the only cloud in the sky now is the contrail from those SRBs there as well. Absolutely a spectacular launch. Couldn't ask for much better.
Good deal. I'm excited to see how your photos turn out, buddy. And of course, thank you to Julia, also out there in the field, not on comms, but she was the one operating the tracking camera there. So good stuff from the team all around. You'll love to see it.
Good pictures coming very soon from your field teams here.
Oh, excellent. Y'all, if you don't follow both Sawyer and Julia on Twitter, you need to be doing it because they both are consistently pumping out some awesome imagery of launch. So there you can see Julia's information on screen at Julia Bergeron, and let's see if we can get Sawyer's up as well. I mean, seriously, pick up your phone, whatever you got to do, go to a different tab in your browser, and follow Sawyer and Rosenstein. They're absolutely excellent folks.
Wait, Sawyer and Rosenstein?
Oh my God, I need more Red Bull coffee. Okay, yeah, follow Sawyer and Julia. Thank you,
There
Sawyer.
we go. No problem.
I can talk.
It's overrated.
All right, well, you quit being sassy and go edit your cool photos because we all want to see them.
All right, yeah, we got to start packing up anyway here and getting ready to head out, and then I'll get to work.
Good deal. Once again, thank you so much to Methane Man for gifting 20 Red Team memberships. If you got a membership from Methane Man, be sure to thank them. And Methane Man, another one of those names we see pop up all the time. So thank you, buddy, for all the support now and forever. Also, oh no, with a very generous super chat. These are Swedish kroner, I believe, if I'm not completely mistaken. Krona. They say, buckle seatbelts, time to get off the ground. Extremely generous of you, oh no. Thank you so much. I mean, once again, we could not do what we do without y'all's support. So it's humbling. It really is. The fact that you trust us to bring you coverage of these launches, the fact that you spend your time with us in the middle of the night for a Starlink, in the early morning for an Atlas, and just all of these streams that we are so privileged and humbled and happy to be able to do. It's truly wonderful. So thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts for the very generous support. Gavin, picking something up from the store, saying I heart bacon and NSF. Thanks, buddy. Looks like they got the new mission patch designed by Pauline. It's a really beautiful mission patch for Starship Flight 2, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. Oh man, EJ, how you doing? How you feeling?
I'm great. Got to see a rocket launch today. Always a good day when that happens, and seems like every day is a good day nowadays, huh?
Yeah, certainly a lot more good days than not good days. I mean, I don't know of any other more efficient adrenaline dump than a rocket launch.
Oh
so,
yeah, it's a rush.
Always a treat. Always an absolute treat. Cool. Well, I think with that, as Atlas continues to do its thing, although, we don't have visibility into it again because classified mission. With that, we will sign off today. EJ, thank you so much for being on commentary and providing your rocket wisdom to us. It's truly exceptional, the depth of your knowledge.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I do have the back channel helping me. Alex and Alex and Adrian.
You don't have to tell everybody. Just.
But most of it, I know off the top of my head. But sometimes I need a little bit of help. But I do appreciate it. Chat, thank you very much for giving us your time, and thank you for allowing me to do this, everybody. I really appreciate it, and I don't take this for granted at all.
Absolutely. And there was EJ's information on screen. Give EJ a follow on Twitter too, because he's awesome. And Twitch. You're on Twitch, right?
That's right.
Good deal. And, of course, there's Sawyer's info card. Sawyer, I believe, is rolling out right now and needing to pack up, so I don't know if we have him on comm. Sawyer, you there? Nope. All right. And we, of course, had Julia out in the field operating that tracking camera. Thank you once again to her for not only operating the tracking camera, but being an awesome person. And we had Kevin. Oh, we're doing me next. And I am Jack Beyer, content manager for NASASpaceflight. Thank you for allowing me to gab at you this morning. And, of course, in the background, we had Kevin Michael Reed pulling the levers, pushing the buttons, running in a human-sized hamster wheel that's like all steampunked out, making the stream work. So thank you, Kevin, for that. All right, my nerds. With that, we will leave you, but don't worry. There's more launches coming soon. And, of course, there's Space Coast Live and Starbase Live, where you can go hang out now if you don't want to go home. You just can't stay here. But with that, that's another NASA Spaceflight live stream in the books. We'll see you nerds next time.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
RA-68 chamber pressure looks good.
Rolling up. Roger, Atlantis.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside FD off. Bring in FD off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
343 unfolds to go. Indeed. We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If the methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
northeast.
All right, okay, bye.